Hi, I'm Charlene. I want to welcome you to Virtual Conversations. With me is new friend, new family member, new nephew, all those wonderful things, Mr. Joe Davis, artist, educator, speaker, author, director, good guy, minister, all those accolades. Joe, hey, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. It's a joy to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I want to just shout out Seeds right here, thanking them for the Seeds Project, which I need to add in, is a ministry offering of Luther Seminary there in St. Paul, Minnesota, for connecting you and I at this time.
Yeah.
I believe that the earth is crying out for next. I can't define what next is, but I just sense that it's waiting on it, and that we're coming at this point in time to help usher that in, it's just crying and moaning for that. I was listening earlier today to a song. It's called Something Has to Break. And some of the lyrics are tear down every lie and set the wrong thing right. Do these lyrics resonate with you in your ministry? And if so, how?
Yeah, immediately I was like, ooh, I'm vibing with that. That resonates with me for sure.
Yeah.
Tear down every lie and set everything right. Yeah, I think that for me, I've always cared a lot about the truth. That's one of the main reasons why I'm even an artist, is because I want to get to the truth of things. And I want to try to say the truth as loudly, as proudly, as beautifully, as honestly as I possibly can. And I use music and poetry and theater and any means necessary to tell that truth, to speak that truth. And so that's what I'm all about. I love that. And then the fact that it's speaking to tearing down the lies, because that's really the only barrier to the truth.
Yeah.
There's a quote, and I can't remember who the original author of the quote is, but Dr. King is quoting the person who originally says it. He says that truth crushed to the earth will rise again, right? Like a seed. Like truth will always find the light. Truth will always find the higher ground. Truth will always be revealed sooner or later. But we have to be, I think as people of faith and people who care about the truth, we have to create space for that to happen. We have to remove the barriers. And so there's barriers within us and there's barriers around us oftentimes. And so as an artist, I'm always looking, I'm like, okay, how can we create more space to tell our stories, to speak our truth, to remove the barriers so we can really experience that freedom, that flourishing of our humanity. So that definitely resonates with me. I vibe with that a lot. That's a big part of my mission, big part of my vision as an artist. So.
And when I heard it, I thought about you. And I was listening to it again and just thinking about, I want to make this part of our conversation today. And what the first thing that came out of your mouth is what I wrote, which is, tear down every lie, set the wrong thing right. I would add to those lyrics, illuminate truth. That's what I wrote down. It's like, that's Joe Davis.
I think that's what happens when we tear down the lies and set the wrong things right. Then the truth is immediately illuminated after that. That's just naturally what happens. So
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
Going back over whichever direction this is, I want you to introduce yourself in your elevator speech or your mission statement.
Yeah. Well, I am an artist and I use poetry, music, and theater to create more space for healing, justice, and joy. And so that's kind of like the main thing, the heart of what I do. But I would say I try to create justice and joy by any means necessary. And as an artist, I feel that the most powerful tools that I have in my toolkit are music and poetry and theater, because I know that helps us access something inside of ourselves. Right? Art isn't about the graphs and the charts. Like all that stuff may be helpful in measuring things, right? But when it really gets to like true transformation that's sustainable, I think we have to access this spiritual sustenance within us, this deep well. And I think that art taps into that deep well. So that's why I'm an artist. That's what I do. I try to help people get to that deep well. When they can't reach it themselves, I try to say, yo, I'm here to create more space so you can reach it.
And you're working with information that is timeless, right? It's the the same lyrics to the song through time that it has this foundation.
Yeah.
How are millennials and other generations responding to your presentation of this timeless information?
Yeah, the way I look at what I do is like creating freedom songs for this generation, for the next generation. Because I learned I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for those who've gone on before me, for my ancestors, even in like, not even just blood ancestors, but also, spiritual ancestors and artistic ancestors, like those who wrote the freedom songs of the past during, the slave era and during the segregation Jim Crow era, where folks were marching and they would sing these songs before they went to meet, police with snarling dogs and batons and this violence and this brutalization. They knew what they were walking into to fight for their rights and their human dignity, but they would sing these songs that would fortify their spirits. It would strengthen their souls so they could persevere through all of that and even like rise above it and transcend it, right? And not be succumbed to that hatred and that bigotry. And so I think that there's something about music and poetry, right? I keep saying this spiritual sustenance. And I feel like I'm only carrying forward this living legacy, right? From my ancestors, from those who've done it before me. I'm just trying to continually usher it in and bring it forward to this generation. And I think this generation is still carrying forward that legacy, but in unique ways, right? We have the internet now, which is opening up new possibilities for us. People can connect all over the globe in ways that weren't previously possible. And there's different platforms. I think about social media certainly is a tool, and it can be used for whatever you want it to be used for. It could be good or it could be bad, right? It's neutral. We get to choose how we want to shape it. But I think when we're using it for the sake of, collective healing and collective liberation, it could be really powerful. And that's what this generation is doing. They're using the internet, they're using creative means to reach more people than we would ever be able to reach before. So that's what I see the generation doing. Yeah,
and I think that it's important too for I mess it up every time, so I'm not even going to try to say it now.
We
I can say those 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-olds versus Gen Xers and baby boomers and all that, because I don't know where those lines are right now.
All right. I forget too. I don't know the numbers. I'm just like, I'm somewhere up in the millennium.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
I just show up and be,
Right, exactly.
But I think it's important for my generation and those who are more seasoned than me to make sure that when we are giving this information, just as you're giving this information, that we tell the stories that go along with it. And I envision poetry, spoken word, the word itself, even if it's lyrical, if it's through lyrics, telling that story. Because I feel like sometimes we're losing people when we don't take a moment, take a beat to say, this is why we were singing about we shall overcome. This is what was going on. This is what we needed to overcome, during that time. And somehow, somewhere that gets lost. And I think going back to what I was saying in the beginning about this cry and this moaning in the earth for the next. The next has already happened. But we have to, it's still called the next because it's still some work to be done in communicating that, right? Yeah.
You reminded me of, when I went to seminary, I I never in a bajillion years thought I would be going to seminary either, just to throw that up in there. I'm just like, I'm an artist of the people. I'm in the community, in the streets. Like, I don't need to go to seminary, but I do feel like I kind of stumbled into it. And then when I was there, I realized that I needed to be there. I learned a lot. I grew a lot. But one of the many things I learned was about this idea of the eschatological hope or eschatology. So eschatology, one way to succinctly say what that means is the already but not yet. The already but not yet. And then it talks about this emerging reality of this beloved community, this kingdom of God that we look at a lot of sacred texts speak of this place, right, where there's peace and there's brotherhood, sisterhood, familyhood, and we're like, we can maybe experience some of that, but we have yet to experience the fullness of that. So that's what the eschatological hope means. It's the already, but not yet, how it's emerging kind of in these pockets, right? In this oasis in the desert where we can go to and we can see it and we can experience it, and we can cultivate it, but it has yet to be fully realized for everyone. And so that's what resonates with me with what you're saying. And I feel like a lot of what I'm trying to do is try to make that happen more often, right? To see that beloved community more often, to see that eschatological hope more often. And so I think wherever we are in the world, we can be participants in that transformative reality. Again, it's not this wide sweeping, like instantaneous experience that happens for everybody, right? But it happens with communities. Right. And the more we can do this work together, then it'll ripple out, like you see the little drop in the water and it ripples outward and then it goes further that way. So that's the way I see this work. It's like, yeah, it's coming. The new world, if you listen closely, you can hear it breathing and growing and moaning. Yeah.
Yeah. The next.
The next, it's on the way. It's already here and it's on the way.
Exactly. Seminary, let's go back to that for a second. You slid that in there right quick.
Yeah.
What was the journey? What was going on right before you made that decision?
Well, I've been a full-time artist since 2015. So before that, I was working at, churches and schools and nonprofits as like a teaching artist or, youth mentor. And then I was serving at a church in North Minneapolis called Redeemer Lutheran Church. And my term had ended. And so I was like, well, when it was coming close to the end, I was like, okay, what's next for me? I don't even know. Like, am I going to get another job, another 9 to 5? But that's not exactly what I wanted to do. That didn't like make my heart come alive when I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? I'm already doing my artistry. So maybe I'll just continue to pursue that, but pursue it full time. And so I took that leap of faith. And I didn't go out and try to find another job, but I was like, I'm gonna do the full-time artist thing. And like, I'm really grateful that it actually worked out, that I was like, there was enough people to support me that I was able to do what I love to do, what I feel I'm called to do full time. So that's what I was doing before seminary. Still going to a lot of churches and universities and high schools and speaking and teaching. But then on that journey, I found my way into one of my friends and mentors was working at Luther Seminary. And so I went and had lunch with him one day and we were right by the seminary. He's like, hey, yeah, I need to go into my office to do some things. I don't know if you want to come with me. So I was just rolling with him, going through campus. And I started meeting all these professors and all these administrators, and they had heard about some of the work that I've done in the community. They're like, you would be a really great candidate for the artist in residency that we have here at Luther Seminary. I had never heard about that before. I was like, what is that? That sounds kind of cool. They're like, well, yeah, you could study whatever you wanted. You get your master's or your MDiv, full ride tuition. And then you would be the artist in residence where you would actually, cultivate art here on campus with the community. And so I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested. Maybe I'll check it out. I'll fill out the application. I'll see what happens. And so, like, admittedly, it was kind of like haphazardly. I was like, I'll try this out. We'll see what happens. And lo and behold, I actually got accepted because it was like a competitive, like there was multiple applicants, but somehow I got accepted, even though I wasn't like really trying to, I was like, yeah, let me test it out. But I think that also speaks to the testament that was the time that was meant for me to be there, you know, for a purpose and for a reason. And so I was there on the adventure, on the journey, not fully knowing what I was getting myself into. And you know, full disclosure, there was times where like it was really tough because you know, when Luther Seminary was first created, it was created for white male pastors, right? And it has yet to fully catch up to the times of no longer serving that purpose. Yeah. So the class that I entered in was the most diverse class that Luther had. Like a lot of my friends who I graduated with, you know, Black and brown folks, we were the largest class of people of color. And so I named that because I don't want to paint this picture of like, oh yeah, like everything was amazing, because I had some hurdles, I had some challenges. Like I remember talking to my fellow seminarians. We kind of had a group of Black seminarians that got together, and we would talk about some of the challenges, try to support each other. And we would say, hey, like how come when I go to class, like all the images that they're showing on the projector screen of the people in the Bible are white people? And how come like all these stories that they're telling are from the white cultural lens? And when I try to tell my experience as a Black person, it doesn't feel like it's being honored and affirmed in the room, you know? So that was part of my experience too. And so it was that. And then on the other hand, there were ways in which I was challenged and stretched and I grew. Like I encountered James Cone, a Black liberation theologian, who's one of my favorite theologians. He talks about the cross and the lynching tree is one of his famous books. And he says like, I can't possibly look at the cross of Jesus and not see my brothers and sisters who've been lynched or who've been murdered in the streets, right? And he talks about the gospel through that lens and how can we find healing and liberation through the story of Christ from that lived experience. So like I never even heard about him before I went to seminary, but I learned about James Cone. I even learned about what liberation theology was and is. And so those are things I'm really appreciative of. I was able to be in conversation with scholars and peers and really sharpen and hone my theology, because I was able to learn what I believe and what I don't believe, and why I believe what I believe and why I don't believe what I believe. And it even like pushed me beyond a lot of that too. So I'm grateful to have had the experience. And I think that my theology is better for it. I think I'm better for it. And it's definitely deepened the impact of my ministry as an artist too. So yeah. So that was a lot, but that was my experience.
It was all good. And thank you for sharing that. And I want to further applaud, I guess, Luther Seminary for being open. I'm going to put ... behind that, because that means a lot, and that'll take us into a different direction. I want to come back in. So, so what I heard and what you shared was what I believe, and what some of the information that you have out in the world says also is Joe Davis is a movement. You are a movement that received fuel, because you were already on the go. You got fuel from a poem. Talk about the poem.
Getting fuel from the poem.
Yeah. So the poem that, and I don't have that note in front of me.
Yeah.
I believe on your website, I think it was, is that the poem became a movement.
Oh, yes.
I'm flipping it that you were a movement that was fueled poem.
Already
it, you know.
Yeah, so for me, like poetry is the way that I am able to process my experiences. When I got connected to like my origin story, or when I first started to become an artist, first started to write, was when I was a kid, and I was really playful, I had a really big imagination. I was always playing make-believe and coming up with my own stories and songs. But then I got really sick as a kid. I was talking about how, you know, one of the big moments for me was I got so sick that I passed out on the bathroom floor. was rushed to the emergency room, was hospitalized, in and out of the hospital throughout elementary school and high school. And so throughout that time, since I'd already developed this practice of writing, I used that as a way to express myself. When it was hard for me to talk to my parents or my friends, I could pour my soul into my poetry notebook or just journal and write stories and write songs. And it was therapeutic. I didn't know at the time until I got older, I came across what's called logotherapy, which was popularized by this guy named Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor. He was in the encampments and his entire family died in the encampments. But he was a writer and he was using writing to help him heal. And so I think that's just really beautiful and powerful because I didn't realize that that's what I was doing back then. And so I named that because I think that is the fuel for me. Like seeing that writing and poetry has been so transformational and healing for me, I try to offer that to other people as perhaps a tool that can also be helpful for them as well. So I write poems with that in mind. I've said, okay, this has been helpful for me. Maybe it'll be helpful for you too. Yeah. I'm gonna charge my computer. Maybe we can edit this out. I'm not sure, but
Yes,
I do need to charge.
All right, great.
Still talking though, still here.
I'm glad that you said that so that I wouldn't ask the next question. So I'm going to wait till you get settled.
Let me grab my chargers down here on the floor.
Okay.
There we go. I got it.
Okay.
We're good.
And we're back. Yeah, writing is critical. You know, I've had people throughout my life that shared with me, you know, ask me rather, do you have a journal? Get a journal. Do you have a journal? And I actually like to write. And I think I do pretty good at writing for others to read it as well as, you know, just writing to get it out of me. But now I was thinking about one of my goddaughters. We were talking yesterday about finances, and she's just really starting to wrap her head around her financial state. You know, what is her financial health looking like right now? And when you and I are done, actually, I'm going to reach out to her because it dropped in my spirit to start not only writing about, you know, whatever she journals about on a regular basis, journal specifically about your finances.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's since we get so much healing and help from just getting it out, and we're talking about relationships, and we're talking about the hurts and the heals and the disappointments from other people. What if you really just sat down and you wrote how you feel about money?
Yeah.
You know, and really looked at that square on, and it's like, ooh, I didn't know I thought about money like that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like that's been really revelatory for me throughout my life. Is like sometimes I didn't even realize what I'm thinking and feeling fully until I externalize it on the page. I'm like, oh wow, okay, and I can like see it from a different perspective, and maybe have some more clarity, some more peace of mind, a stronger sense of direction, because I'm able to say, okay, wow, I thought this. I don't really want to be thinking that. Or I can say, I thought this and I need more of that. How do I do that more or think that more, right? And so it's able to help like move me in the direction that I want to go in the future. I would encourage her to even write not only where she's at with her finances, but to also write where she wants to be, right? And to dream about it and to like really create that. Because I think that's part of the process too that can be really powerful. So
yeah, you and we're gonna have to figure out a way, even if it's text messaging or tagging each other on social media, hashtag next, you know, because talking about just keeps bringing us back to the next, which is actually the now. You know, I love that.
Yeah, connected.
Yeah, so you've talked offline a lot about, and a lot is relative, about showing up. When you think about showing up for yourself, what are you saying? What does that mean, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So showing up for me is about like a commitment to being your full self, like all of who you've been created and called to be. And it sounds simple, but I also think it's profound, because we live in a world that doesn't always allow us to be our full selves. Like, I know I've experienced this, and talking with many people, I know other folks have experienced it too, but where you walk into a room and you feel like you have to check parts of yourself at the door, or like you have to hide parts of yourself, or you have to just play small, just shrink yourself, right? And I realized that I had done that sometimes in my life. I didn't even know that I was doing it, but I would do it. And then looking back, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. That's not healthy. That's not authentic. I don't think that's who God has created and called me to be. And so when I was writing this poem entitled Show Up and just meditating on that, I was like, I want to bring my full, authentic, unapologetic self to every space that I go into. My mom would tell me growing up, and it's a scripture too, but it says, your gift will make room for you. Right. And so I think that in order to offer your gift and for that room to be made, you have to bring your full self. Like, you know, you got that song as a little kid, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, right? It sounds so cute and playful, but it's kind of deep when you really think about it. Because how many times do we really actually hide that light behind the bushel?
Yeah.
Or do we allow Satan to blow it out, as the song says, right? And I would even say, like, it's not even necessarily, I guess you could still say it's Satan using other people, but it's other people who try to blow it out, right? Or it's systems that try to blow it out, or it's even thoughts in our own mind that try to blow it out, blow that light out. And so to show up to me means to let your light shine in all of its glory, right? And I think in doing that, we are also giving glory to our creator. We also giving glory to like our families and our communities. Because when we're shrinking ourselves and when we're hiding that light, we're not speaking to the truth again, right? We're dimming the truth. So my big thing is, I say we all got the spark. I just came to fan the flame. And so with showing up, I want everybody to just show up and show out, to speak their truth, to walk unapologetically. And I wrote this recently. I shared it on social media. A lot of people were vibing with it, but I said, I want you to luxuriate in your divine infinitude. Luxuriate in your divine infinitude. And that's what it means to show up to me. Yeah.
You have quoted authors, you have quoted Dr. King quoting someone else. You have quoted lyrics, this little light of mine. Yeah. Give us now, as we wrap, one of your pieces, or if it's off the dome, you know, give us something in this moment.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what would be the piece that would be needed right now. Okay, I have this one piece called Take Action Now. And so I'll share that piece.
Sure.
It kind of speaks to the next a little bit too. The only way we can get to the next is if we work towards it. We can't lean on the shovel and pray for a hole. You know what I'm saying? We gotta do the work as well. And so it's take action now. It goes like this. This moment is our inauguration. This moment, we are no longer waiting. People of every race, nation, and generation come together in this moment we are creating. Because we ain't backing up and we ain't backing down. We rise higher together. We take action now. This is not for the applause of the audience, but to build strong the world in which we long to live. A love letter written beyond the pen, the dance in our breath, the song in our skin. This is the moment we dare to begin, where our fears end, where those bruised and broken restore, repair, and amend. Because we ain't backing up and we ain't backing down. We rise higher together. We take action now. We ain't staying static or stagnant. We changing the status because we know change ain't automatic. We have to make it happen. We turn our pain into power and our wounds into wisdom. In this moment, we honor both elders and children. In this moment, the stories we tell can help heal them. In this moment, our expressions of joy are resilient because we ain't backing up and we ain't backing down. We rise higher together. We take action now. Inspirational, unwavering, bold, confident, inclusive. We are the music that keeps the movement moving. We are the students of the revolution, putting the us in justice and the soul in solution, making a resolution to not just talk about it, but to do something. If our legacy speaks volumes of who and what we care about, may the way we live our lives say it loud and say it proud, with courage and compassion, so we have no doubt that this is the moment we take action now. That piece right there. Yeah. Right on,
Yeah.
right on.
Woo-hoo. And it's just us.
Yeah.
Right? It's just
Yeah.
us. And we are next.
We are.
And we are now.
Mm.
Joe Davis, an honor, a privilege. I'm so glad that you came through today and that you came through now. I so look forward to continuing this journey with you and seeing what's going to cross our paths as we go. The curves, the bends, the twists, the straights, the narrows, you know, the wides, the highs, the lows. It's just us. I am so excited, and thank you again for coming by and being who you are.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you. Grateful.
thank you.
Grateful. It's been a joy. Till next time.
Till next time.
Gratitude.
Yes, yes.